All
It's
right.
recording. Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Dr. David Chang for joining us today. Today, we're going to talk about the future of lymphedema treatment in terms of surgical options. Dr. Chang is a world-renowned surgeon. He is affiliated with the University of Chicago, and they currently have a new clinical trial that is currently underway. I first found out about this trial over social media, and I reached out to Dr. Chang's team over at the university, and they were so kind and so generous enough to respond to me with a pass to the Chicago Breast and World Lymphedema Surgery symposium that just occurred over the weekend. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It was a virtual world stage of, I believe it was over 50 faculty from around the world, just from every country imaginable. So I want to thank you for that opportunity, Dr. Chang. First, I'd like to start with, how long have you been doing surgery? What inspired you to do lymphedema surgery? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a plastic surgeon. I specialize in cancer reconstruction. So prior to coming to University of Chicago, I was at faculty at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. And I do a lot of breast reconstruction, and a lot of my patients had lymphedema. And there was really nothing that we could offer for them for a long time. And when I received a scholarship to travel when I was still younger in my career, and I had watched a surgeon overseas who was doing lymphovenous bypass procedure, which was not very common at the time. It was not something that was done regularly in the United States, to my understanding. And then so when I started a trial at MD Anderson Cancer Center, and so I started doing this at the end of 2005, mainly with breast cancer patients, and then I published my result, presented in my research, and then I also started to perform other procedures such as lymph node transplant, and now, I believe these procedures are performed more commonly within the United States. A lot of major centers have started lymphedema surgery program, and it's great to see that how this field has really grown quite exponentially over the past. It's been over 15 years since I started doing this. So so that's how I started doing. So that's a little story about myself.
Yes, I would have to agree with you. I started my community called Lymphie Strong back in 2015, which was just 6 years ago. And patients having surgery wasn't very commonplace. And as a matter of fact, I kind of steered away the community from discussing it because a lot of the discussion was wrapped around, insurance not covering, not enough surgeons available to do it. And now I think I agree with you in terms of it seems to have starting to explode. Lymphatic or lymphology is just, I think, at the tip of the iceberg and, becoming more mainstream in the medical field. So the reason I reached out is to ask more about what is LymphBridge? How can it help patients?
Yeah, so it's a BioBridge. So BioBridge is a product made of collagen. Collagen is a very common protein in our body or an animal, and it is processed in a way that it could be inserted into our body while we're doing a surgery. It's been shown in research, animal research, and also there are some people have used it clinically. And the concept is that, like the name says, it's a bridge. When you place it into an area where there is a lymphatic damage, And when we put a lymph node transplant, it helps the new lymphatic vessels to grow like a scaffolding to pathway for it to grow faster. So that's the concept. So it's been shown to be effective in animal models. Of course, we have to do a human clinical trial to prove the safety and efficacy in humans. And it is FDA approved for use in human, but not for lymphatic surgery, but for other things. So it has been shown to be safe. So we started this clinical trial. Our patients that we are looking for are patients who have upper arm lymphedema due to breast cancer treatment. And there are, of course, a number of criteria they have to meet. But if they enroll, we will do lymph node transplant. And then we'll put these BioBridges. They're like little strands that gets inserted under the skin. And then we will measure the outcomes to see it will be whether it's effective or not, and we can publish it. Now, it will be randomized, meaning that there will be some patients who will not get them, and then there are some patients who will get them, and then we will have to follow the patients over a 3-year time to evaluate the outcome. And it's an exciting study. We started earlier this year. Last year, actually, in the late last year, but because of the COVID, things were kind of held back. But yeah, it's already been started. Patients have already enrolled. We've done several patients already, and yeah, if anyone's interested, you can reach out to us. And if you are felt to be a candidate, then you can, of course, enroll in the study. So anyone who's a part of the study, the products, the BioBridge, wouldn't, there'd be no cost. We will not. There'll be no cost to them. It'll be it'll be included.
One question that I had when I was reading the material for the clinical trial was, do you still get the node transfer?
Yeah, everybody gets lymph node transplant if they're a candidate. But some patients may not get the BioBridge, and then some patients will get the BioBridge. So that's right now in most places the standard. Even with us, we just do lymph node transplant. We do not use BioBridge on regular basis. But so this is a trial to assess that. Correct.
So I know one of the first questions patients will have when they get news of this is, if most of these clinical trials are for breast cancer patients, but during the symposium, I saw leg examples. So for
so you can use them what we call off-label, but they would not be part of the trial. So there are people that you could use them, but then of course the products will not be free. There'll be costs to the products. So, but I have not offered it to patients who are out of trial right now. I personally have not. Okay. So in Europe, it is they have started using it more. The regulation, the FDA process is a little bit different than us, and we could use it, what we call off-label. So
yeah,
correct.
So I just wanted to clarify for the patients that are watching is that this technology is not just being developed just for the arms. Later on down the road, there could be potential for people who have it in other parts of the body.
Yeah.
What I found most interesting about it is when you look at the pictures or the diagram, it really makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think the note that I wrote is that current treatments do not address the increasingly non-functional lymphatic channels throughout the length of the limb. So, we have debulking surgeries, and then we have, the channel surgery, and this seems to be like the missing piece anatomically in the body to help, push it forward. And,
well, lymph node transplant works by the process called lymphanger-genesis. It's like a
Exactly.
planting. It's like a planting a seed, and then they
Yes.
grow. And I guess you can think of BioBridge kind of like more as like a fertilizer that makes the growth get faster and better. That's the concept, but we have to prove it. So,
Right.
you know, in order for any type of a new device to be shown to be effective, you have to do what's called randomized prospective study. You have to randomize, you have to have a control group, then you have to collect the data prospectively, and that is found to be more scientific. People can just use them and then report about it afterwards, which is called retrospective. It is found those are not to be as scientific. So this is the kind of study that we need if we want to make this standard. Just like COVID vaccines, all the vaccines we're using now, they all went through randomized prospective study. So this is the first prospective randomized study using this protocol biodesign.
I think it's wonderful. I think that the more we do to create new technology to help us as patients, ultimately get to the point to where I think every patient wants to get to the point to where they do not wear a garment. So the closer and closer we move the needle towards that end, I think is absolutely fantastic.
So this study is NIH funded, so that the products that we use are free of charge. For surgery, is to be covered by the patient's insurance, and so we go through the same process like all the other patients. And I think most insurances do cover lymph node transplant.
Okay. Is there any type of, other than the breast cancer, do they have to be cellulitis free for a certain amount of time? Or
I mean, some of the key criteria include patient needs to be cancer free. We do not do lymph node transplant in patients who still have cancer, and they have to be compliant with lymphedema therapy. The patients who have not been compliant, who's kind of not doing anything to help themselves, are not a candidate. And they have to meet certain, other criteria, such as, your weight. Patients who are morbidly obese are not candidates. As you know, that in itself is really bad for lymphedema. And then, of course, they have to be minimal medical issues. If they have severe cardiac issues or long pulmonary issues or other issues that make them high risk for surgery, then of course they cannot be. But for the most part, I think most women, I say women because this is breast cancer, most women with lymphedema due to breast cancer, like for example with X-ray node dissection, radiation, things like that, probably would be good candidates.
Right, because they've already undergone other treatments that have been approved, right? Yeah. I know I've had a lot of that has to do with, anesthesia requirements as well. So it's not all just upon the surgery itself. Yeah. I've had multiple surgeries, and when you undergo the anesthesia check, it's just 100 questions. They want you to not have an emergency, of during the procedure itself. So what other question did I have? You said if it's for 3 years, so the patient will be followed. What about travel? Are they traveling to Chicago?
Yeah, they'll have to come to Chicago. So I would say majority of my patients travel from outside Chicago anyway, from throughout the country, and some are even international. Obviously, if you are part of trial, you will have to come back a certain time period so that we can evaluate you and collect the data. And initially after the surgery, you need to stay in this area for about a week to make sure everything's okay, and then come back in about 3 months for evaluation. And then after that, it's just once a year. Once a year. So you'll have to be committed to do that. If that's an issue, then you probably should not enroll in the study. Yeah, because
So
then
do
if,
not
if
attempt.
yeah,
Right.
if we cannot gather the necessary data, then that person, you know, doesn't count. So we need to have certain number of patients with certain number of information so we could analyze the data.
Right. Yeah, you need to gather those data points
Yeah.
across the
That's
population
right.
study.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And the other question I had was, when will they actually find out? Like, so the trial was actually 3 years. When would they eventually find out whether or not they received the BioBridge?
Well, they'll know after the surgery right away.
Oh, okay.
Because yeah, they'll know, because when we insert them, even though they're under the skin, there are little puncture sites. They're like 3 puncture sites that needs to go in there. So
So it's a
they'll
lot
see
more
it.
telling than taking a medication and not knowing if you're taking the
Exactly. Yeah,
placebo.
it's not like, yeah, I guess we could insert just make fake sites, puncture them, and just not tell them. But yeah, they're tiny little needle holes. They're like a little needle puncture, but they're small, and there's only like 3 of them. You know, after years, you know, after a while, you probably couldn't see them.
And the lymph node transplant itself is minimal scarring as well.
Yeah, I mean, you get a scar from that, certainly, but it is something that we've been doing for a long, long time, and you know, for the most part, patients do well.
Well, I think that's all I had. I'm super excited
Very
for
good.
any clinical trial. Thank you so
Okay.
much for
Sure.
the opportunity for the symposium. I
Sure.
shared a lot of that information with my
Yeah,
community.
and you have the links how to enroll. You have it, so you can share with your members, and then yeah, we'll see. Hopefully,
Okay.
this
So
will be
much.
something that could help lymphedema patients. Thank you, and
Absolutely.
you have a good day. Where are
You
you?
too.
Where are you located, by the way?
I am located in Katy, Texas, right outside of Houston.
Oh, I know where you are. I used to live in Houston. You know where MD Anderson is.
I know where it is.
I know where Katie. Yeah,
Actually, that's where I went and got my my COVID vaccine. I had to drive down
all the way to MD
UT
Anderson?
No, on the side of MD Anderson, you know, it's UT Health. They've got that brand new building.
Okay.
And one of my doctors is with UT Health, and I got the email, you know, come get the vaccine. So I had to drive all the way down there, and it took me almost an hour.
Yeah, I miss Houston. You know, I lived there for 15 years, and my kids were both born there, and yeah, it's a wonderful place.
Any chance you're coming back?
Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. All right. Take care.
Nice to meet you, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.